In the desolate, snow-blasted reaches of Russia's Ural Mountains lies a place known to the indigenous Mansi people as Kholat Syakhl, the Mountain of the Dead. And on a freezing night in February 1959, it lived up to its name in a way that defied every explanation. 9 experienced hikers, led by Igor Dyatlov, embarked on a challenging winter expedition. They were seasoned veterans, prepared for the brutal cold. But something, unseen and unfathomable, attacked their campsite. What happened next became one of the most baffling, terrifying, unsolved mysteries in modern history. Their tent was found slashed open from the inside. Their bodies were scattered, some miles away, in various states of undress, bearing injuries that defy logic. Crushing blows, missing body parts, and radiation burns. In this video, we will brave the unforgiving cold of the Dyatlov Pass, meticulously reconstructing the final, horrifying moments of these 9 souls.
The story of the Dyatlov Pass incident began in January 1959, centered around a group of 9 experienced ski hikers, mostly students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, led by 23-year-old Igor Dyatlov. This was no simple outing. The planned route across the northern Urals was rated at the highest possible difficulty, a Category 3 trek. Completion would earn them the most prestigious hiking certificate in the Soviet Union at the time. The group originally consisted of 10 people, but on January 28th, one member, 21-year-old Yuri Yudin, was forced to turn back due to severe knee and joint pain. In a moment of unfortunate luck, Yudin's untimely health issues ensured he would be the sole survivor of the expedition. By February 1st, the remaining 9 hikers found themselves battling worsening weather and snowstorms, causing them to deviate from their intended course toward Mount Otorten. Instead, they set up their large, 9-person tent on the eastern slopes of Kholat Syakhl Mountain, a name, eerily, known by the local Mansi tribe as Dead Mountain. Dyatlov made the questionable decision to camp there rather than move downhill to a forested, sheltered area. Dyatlov had previously promised Yudin that the group would send a telegram upon their return to Vizhai, expected no later than February 12th. When the date passed without contact, relatives demanded a search, which began in earnest later that month. On February 26th, searchers discovered the group's abandoned and badly damaged tent on the slope. The sight immediately baffled the search party. The tent was partially torn down, covered with snow, and empty, with all the group's belongings and shoes left inside. Investigators quickly determined that the tent had been cut open from the inside. Something had scared these experienced hikers so badly and made them want to flee so quickly that they sliced open their only piece of shelter. Footprints leading away from the tent told an even stranger story. 9 sets of tracks, left by people wearing only socks, a single shoe, or even completely barefoot, led down toward the edge of a nearby wood, about 1.5 kilometers away. The footprints were not scattered or chaotic, as you might expect from a panic sprint, but were extremely organized, appearing single file. The hikers had fled into highly sub-zero temperatures, estimated between minus 40 degrees and minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit, inadequately dressed. The first 2 bodies found were Krivonishenko and Doroshenko, located shoeless and dressed only in underwear beneath a large Siberian pine tree at the forest's edge, where the visible remains of a small fire were found. Doroshenko was found lying face down with 2 socks, but no shoes, suffering from a large burn on his head and foot, and showing signs of strong force to his chest cavity. Krivonishenko also had burns on his hands and legs, and a chunk of his own knuckle was found inside his mouth. The branches of the pine tree were broken up to 5 meters high, suggesting one of the men had desperately climbed the tree, perhaps looking for the camp. The next 3 bodies, Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin, were found along the path back toward the tent, suggesting they had attempted to return when they succumbed to the cold. Dyatlov had signs of abrasions and bruises consistent with a potential fight. Kolmogorova had abrasions and bruises, and a long bruise on her side suggested a hit from a baton. Slobodin had internal bleeding in both temples, and a large fracture on his skull. Though it was determined this was not immediately fatal, these first 5 victims were ruled to have died of hypothermia. The discovery of the remaining 4 bodies took over 2 months. They were finally found on May 4th, buried under 4 meters, 13 feet of snow, in a ravine, 75 meters deeper into the woods. Interestingly, these 4 were better dressed, showing signs that they had taken clothes from the bodies of those who died first in a desperate attempt to stay warm, and it's here that the incident turns truly gruesome. 3 of these final victims had fatal, traumatic injuries. Nikolai Thibault Brignol had major skull damage, including fractures all over the left side of his head. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov both suffered severe chest trauma and major fractures, including 10 broken ribs in Dubinina's case. The forensic expert, Boris Vozhrojdeny, stated that the force required to cause such damage was extremely high, comparable to that of a car crash. Yet, incredibly, the bodies had no corresponding external wounds associated with these bone fractures, no bruising or marks where the force would have hit, as if they had been subjected to a high level of pressure. But the horrifying details didn't stop there. All 4 bodies found in the creek had baffling, soft tissue damage to their heads and faces. Dubinina was missing her tongue, both eyes, part of her lips, and facial tissue. Zolotaryov had his eyeballs missing, and Alexander Kolevatov was missing his eyebrows. While some investigators attributed this to post-mortem damage from the bodies being in running water or scavenging animals, these puzzling injuries fueled decades of speculation.
When investigators examined the campsite again, they noticed something even stranger: traces of radiation on some of the hikers' clothes. Though the levels weren't high enough to cause instant death, they were abnormal, far beyond what should have been found in a remote mountain expedition. No one could explain how it got there, and then came the testimonies. Nearby hikers, as well as local Mansi tribesmen, reported seeing glowing orange orbs in the sky around the same time the group disappeared. Some described them as fireballs, silently floating above the mountains. The military dismissed these reports as nonsense, but secretly, classified records showed that Soviet missile tests had been conducted in the region during those nights.
Theirs weren't so sure. Some experts suggested infrasound, a low-frequency vibration produced by mountain winds, could cause extreme panic and disorientation. It might have driven the group into irrational terror, forcing them to flee their tent without understanding why. There's also the theory of a military cover-up. Several rescue workers claimed they were warned not to discuss what they'd seen. Some of the recovered film rolls and diaries went missing, and in official reports, the cause of death was deliberately vague. A compelling, natural force. Nothing more. But what kind of natural force can crush ribs like a car accident, tear out tongues, and leave radiation on clothing? Even today, the Dyatlov Pass remains one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries on Earth. Decades later, investigators, scientists, and conspiracy theorists still argue. Was it an avalanche? A secret weapon test? A UFO encounter? Or something that defies all logic? All we know for certain is this: 9 young lives ended in terror under circumstances so bizarre that even the Soviet government quietly closed the case. The final diary entry read simply, "We now know that snowmen exist." What they saw that night died with them in the frozen silence of Dead Mountain. If you like this video and want to uncover more dark mysteries like this, don't forget to subscribe, because what's coming next is even more chilling.